Hello, everyone. We will get started in just a minute, letting everyone sign in quickly. All right, I see just a couple more people joining right now, so let everyone connect to audio and we'll get started in just a few seconds. In the meantime, we have just launched a poll, so we would love to hear about your role. Go ahead and click at your leisure. All right, so I think we can get started. And thank you to everyone who is clicking in the poll. It looks like we have a great mix of district leadership and school leadership and instructional designers and coaches. So welcome to everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Kim Opelt. I am the Director of Advocacy and Community here at CLASS, and I am so honored to be joined by two outstanding panelists today for a discussion on designing from the student perspective. So how to design courses, online engagement, and just ways of incorporating student feedback and student engagement into courses. So let's get started. Just a really quick overview of our agenda today. We are going to hear a little from our panelists on their backgrounds and their institutions. I will tell you a little bit about CLASS and what we're working on currently, and then we'll dig into the student perspective and incorporating feedback and experiences into course design. We do have quite a bit of time for Q&A as well, so I will be leading just a fireside chat. And if you want to get involved in that chat, feel free to add any questions to the Q&A, and we will get to them as we move through. In the meantime, just a little bit of housekeeping. We will send this recording out later, and you can always learn more about CLASS at class.com. So with that, let's get started. Let's start with Betsy, and thank you so much, Betsy. Thank you, Stephen, for joining us. I should have said that in the beginning, but would love to just start out and hear a little bit more about ASU Prop Digital.
Hi, everybody. Thanks again for having us. I'm really excited about this particular topic today. I am our Executive Director of School Design. So design is in my title. I'm absolutely passionate about it. And I'm here on behalf of ASU Prep Digital, which is Arizona State University's K through 12 online program. I do want to note that we're a part of the greater ASU Preparatory Academy network of schools, which includes both brick and mortar and then also our online platform through Prep Digital, which is both a school, but also we do a lot of really creative things in the space, working with partnership schools around design and putting students at the center of our model. Right in our mission, we are looking to raise academic outcomes for all learners, but then also you might imagine, being a part of a university, we're interested in research, we're interested in designing new models for educational success. And, just a little bit more about Prep Digital, our virtual school in particular, which is really, I think, relevant today, thinking about being in partnership with CLASS on this webinar. We pride ourselves as a rigorous virtual school program. We are college prep, but we do welcome all learners as part of our Arizona charter. And we also allow our students to take Arizona State University classes as part of our model. So that takes some creative design and how we really put students at the center of that model. And it's not, those Arizona State University courses are not just for our online students, but for any of our ASU Preparatory Academy students. So excited to be here today, and we'll share more about my role as we get into some of the questions.
Perfect. That sounds great. Thank you so much. Such an exciting program happening over at ASU. How fun. All right, Steve, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk a little bit about the Governor's School and what you're working on over there.
Yeah, I'm from the GSST, Governor School for Science and Technology. We're in Hampton, Virginia. We're one of 17 governor schools around the state of Virginia. We are a magnet school. We attract students from the local high schools. It's very competitive. It's an advanced program. Matter of fact, the first year I taught there, of the local 12 high schools, 7 of the valedictorians were sitting in my class. It's quite an experience. But we've been moving toward the more technology in the classroom for some time. The school's been innovative that way. We're one of the first in the area to move all of our classes to Canvas, and which is now very, very common. And we're looking in the future to look at the possibility of, can we join these many governor schools around the state, which have varying degrees of resources in their school, to make the best use of various schools around the state, so that all the boats are raised in the future. My background, I taught at Old Dominion University, and something like 20 years ago, ODU was the #1 school with online classes. They were doing it all with satellites back in those days, rather than internet. And all teachers had to teach one course online. The ideas were there, the technology wasn't. So we've come a long way, educators and designers in education platforms, moving toward better and better, more effective and student-centric technologies and programs. So I'll share some of my experience and some of the things we're looking ahead to at the Gov School. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And again, it's really important to have both of your perspectives on this specific topic as well, not because you're, both at technologically advanced schools, but that you've been doing a lot of work in this field and have some great expertise. So really looking forward to our conversation. Okay, so I also wanted to talk a little bit about class. We'll do a quick overview. Again, there's plenty more on the website, but for those of you who have not yet heard about class, we are a virtual learning platform that right now sits on top of Zoom and provides an engaging learner experience for your teachers, for your administrators, for your students, and really brings the virtual classroom to life. So we were born out of the pandemic when there was a lot of two-dimensional, one-dimensional even, of teaching going on in especially the synchronous kind of setting. We really aimed to bring a lot of what was happening in that in the physical classroom online. So you can see here, we have teaching and learning tools. We have engagement tracking, attendance and ID verification, proctored exams, seating charts, classroom management tools, and just a lot of things that you kind of imply when you're in the classroom, but becomes a lot harder when you're in a virtual classroom. So we're really excited to bring those extra tools to Zoom to provide an engaging experience. Just a couple of our highlights that we have in class that are really popular, especially in the K-12 world. One is my favorite, is the enhanced breakout rooms. So a lot of times, and even in my own students' experience, we put students into breakout rooms and let them go and maybe give them a topic and hope that they're doing the right thing and hoping that they're engaged with each other and sharing content. So our enhanced breakout rooms allow the instructor to see each breakout room, see if anyone is kind of getting off track or if they need extra help. And then it also allows the teacher to deploy different activities to different breakout rooms. So if there's a breakout room who is a little more advanced, or one that needs some redirection, you can launch different activities to those breakout rooms. You can pop in and out as you want to, as you see the students interacting, and just provides a really fun and interactive experience for everyone involved, really. Another is our Proctor exam view. So, and this is actually goes beyond proctoring, but this allows you to even help students one-on-one. You can see their screen as soon as they allow you to enter Proctor View, you can see their camera, you can see what they're working on a screen, that you can see or see them in real time and working on different assignments. If you are if you're delivering a test or an exam, you are also able to just see what they're working on, make sure that they're not veering over to another website or looking over to their notes or things like that. So really immersive Proctor View for our schools to use. And then, so then the student perspective is something that we wanted to talk about quite a bit. And it's been really important throughout the development of class. And now as we really enter this new era of remote and hybrid learning, and it was really something that we looked at the forefront of developing class and then enhancing our products. So we have taken a look at, what does it really mean to redesign the classroom, to, make the virtual classroom more exciting, inviting, and able to be scaled for all. And so what we were taking a look at is, is your classroom flexible? So are you able to offer different options for your students, for your teachers to be creative in designing their own content and their own activities? Are students able to learn in varying ways that they would learn in a physical classroom? Are they able to learn in groups, or to listen to content, or to read, or to get hands-on? And that's it's really important, of course, in the physical classroom, but also in that virtual environment. Is your redesigned classroom accessible? So are you addressing those opportunity gaps? Are you allowing, the students to see the world? Are we bringing them to different places with virtual learning? Are we addressing their learning variabilities? So just making sure that classroom is accessible to your students. And then is your redesigned learning personalized? And this is really important and really one of the fun parts of learning online and really progressing to that next stage of virtual learning. When we move beyond emergency remote learning and in the lecture style that we were used to, just incorporating different ways that students learn and different tools and techniques are really, really important and really fun for them. And I would say, again, as we move beyond remote, emergency remote learning and into a really deliberate way of delivering synchronous, especially learning to students, not everyone's completely ready for that, and that's okay. And so we are kind of seeing institutions at different places, and hopefully, when you look at this, you can see where you're at as well. So, with all of the investments and all of the tools that have been just really collected by schools and districts over the past couple of years, there really isn't a reason to utilize technology in every classroom, whether you're in person or you're online. But kind of psychologically and emotionally and just even academically, how are we preparing for that, and what stage are we in? So we are seeing that some schools and districts still are in that revive stage where they have the tools, they have the technology to get by, and they are ready to kind of take the next step and be technologically ready for school in this upcoming school year, and in both mindset and just tool wise, and this is a great place to be. It's great to have the tools and have the techniques and really set the stage to be able to provide some quality online programming. We do see quite a few schools and districts too in the redesign phase. So, and I'm imagining this is where a lot of you may be as well as we talk about this exact topic. But we are so excited to be working with so many schools and districts, and especially with Betsy and Steve to talk about redesign and how are we going to use what we've learned and use all of the data and all of the tools that have been developed over the past couple of years to begin to really accelerate instruction, especially use technology in instruction, again, both online, in person, hybrid, and just start to reimagine what school is looking like for students and what they're learning. And then finally, reimagine. So this is where we're starting to see a lot more institutions moving towards. So we are seeing, places like ASU Prop Digital just coming to a place where they have a lot of experience in a digital world, but are also using all of the research and tools that has an experience that has happened in the past to accelerate them forward and really use some fun and engaging and really cool techniques to reimagine the classroom. So with that, I will stop talking and let's get our panelists. So I am going to stop sharing my screen so you can see each other. And thank you again to both of you, Betsy and Steve, for being here. I'm going to just adjust really quick. And I think my first question for you, as we're talking about redesign, is as we go through and I gave an overview of what redesign looks like, a lot of it kind of comes from the institutional perspective and in the technical aspect, but we really do need to think about the students and put them at the center of this. So the first question for you is, why is it important to redesign with student perspective in mind? And Betsy, let's start with you.
Sure. I have kind of a funny direct answer on this one. If you don't, they're not going to like it and they're not going to adopt what you've done. So I have had a few projects that look really good on paper, and maybe they were a fast development. So it wasn't part of a natural cycle where you might, bring in a design committee and go through a slow process, where I was just like, gosh, we really want students to take more of this particular college course type. Mm-hmm. And what if we did this? And I packaged it together and it looks so good on paper. And then no kids were interested in it. And I thought I was spot on. And I was really reimagining what the possibility could be. So I think it's really important to bring students in early on, even in short projects, just to make sure that we're really listening to what they want. Mm-hmm. But then I also do want to maybe point out too, is that I think we're all under the curse of we know what we've experienced. So although I do think it's important to bring students in early, I also think it's really important to educate students, parents, other stakeholders when you're building something new about, why you're thinking about it, what research has said, or what are other models of schools doing, so that it feels a little safer, because the way that we've always done school is very entrenched in who we are. And so it can feel scary, especially if people are stressed, or maybe it's a bad time of the year, to be open to new ideas. And so as we're, it's important to educate our stakeholders too about where we're coming from and why we're interested in trying something new.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the field of dreams, right? If you build it, they will come. And if you build it with their input,
they will really come. Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. Steve, any thoughts on that, on why we need that student perspective and student voice when we're redesigning?
Yeah, just a couple. What I've noticed just in my lifetime, and I'm sure we've all seen it, just how quickly we are going through cultural changes. And the students are living in that. It's hard to believe that the students I'm seeing that 9/11 was something that happened in the past. No, it happened yesterday, and it's very current. So their cultural experiences with technology, the technology world they live in, these are all very different. And we need to know how they're thinking, how they are motivated in their world, how they're responding to it, and incorporate that in the redesign of our classes. Classes I took in high school, they were the same classes for 10 years because the culture didn't change. Expectations were all the same. So I think change is going to drive these designs, and you have to get out there first with the students to make it work.
Right, absolutely. And that brings up a good point. And, we have had a very stagnant education system for a long time. And it feels like now there is a lot of talk, even maybe a lot more talk or more concrete or actionable talk about it being the time for redesign. So I'll take that back to you, Steve, is why is now the time to start thinking about redesign?
The technology is changing so quickly. The technology opportunities, we're not even sure what they are yet. And if it's like purchasing or looking for something, if you're in early, you get to specify what's going on. You're on the inside of it, and it can meet your needs as you're going forward. You come, I hate these phrases from marketing, late to the table. You'll have what they have, and you start adopting you to the technology. So get in early, design for what you need, and the technology is so flexible for that to be done. Yep.
And I might add on too, we know the reality of coming out of a pandemic, which there's a lot of tragedy that has come out of the last few years. But when I do talk to district leaders in technology, there is a little bit of excitement in that some of the changes that have happened in districts, which would normally take upwards of 5 years, had to happen in a matter of weeks.
Right.
And so there is a sense of momentum on, we can do hard things together, and students have gotten a taste of a bit more agency and knowing what it is that they learn and being able to learn in multiple places. I said to a teacher, I do quite a bit of teacher professional development as part of my portfolio. And I said to one of them, can you imagine as a student coming into a classroom ever again, not knowing what you have to learn until you look at a board? Even something as simple as, Steve, I know you've been on Canvas for a long time, but I think for a lot of schools now, I can't imagine going back to normal, meaning like you have to wait to know what you're going to learn and not have that control and knowledge. Maybe you still don't do it outside of school. We know the realities there, but the ability to know that you have access to your learning 24/7. And that goes from early elementary and thinking about parent involvement all the way up through secondary. I have 2 young girls in early elementary, and one was just sick, and I actually couldn't see what she was learning. Her teacher, rest assured, just don't worry, we'll get her caught up when she gets back, which maybe is good because maybe my daughter just needed to rest. But as a parent, I was like, wait, I don't know what she's doing. And I had been used to that for some time. So I think the time is now.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. And anything else that you think that we could take away from, from these past couple of years of this emergency remote learning and then the evolution forward? Any either, hard tips or even mindset visions that we can take away from that?
I might share just top of mind for us at ASU is this concept of hybrid, which I know had all sorts of stressors during the last couple of years, but we've really seen an audience for hybrid learning in K-12 and have actually taken this opportunity to design some intentional hybrid programs embedded both at our brick and mortar sites. So if students only want to come on site a couple of days a week and then continue their more flexible, personalized virtual learning, we have that embedded right in our brick and mortar schools, and they can still leverage sports and clubs and things with the facilities. That's one model of it. But then we also have launched some smaller micro schools in the community that take on some of the characteristics of wherever the physical location or what resources are available. Some people, I think, refer to that as more as place-based learning. And so we are seeing some real interest in hybrid sticking, because they don't want full virtual, but they have appreciated the flexibility and it kind of makes sense, right? A lot of universities, most university courses are sort of taught in that way, where you're doing some things independent and then coming to class maybe fewer days a week than 5. So that's really stuck, and not just at secondary for us, but also in elementary as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, a lot of people are learning what they succeeded at and what they didn't. And I think for students, they were actually very aware of that. So very good point. Steve, any thoughts or takeaways from the past 2 years on from your side?
Just a comment on preparation. When all of our students have a lot of traveling, there's logistics to our school, and we very quickly put together the Zoom platform and organize things so that our students who are high achieving, very ambitious, didn't skip a beat. You know, we were able to contact them, get them into Zoom classes. We were blending before we knew what the word was. But what we have learned, and what we're leaving from that with, is that I'll put it my phrase, we have to warm up. We have to bring some warmth, the human contact, to the online situation. It just 2 dimensions. Zoom, you're not there. You don't buy this technology. You adapt it, and you adapt to it. So we have learned to share and pass around. What are you doing that makes this online experience warmer? It can never be a classroom, but it can do that. And technology such as class allow us to do even more than we did in the classroom. So that's where we are headed out, with understanding the challenge of making warm that online situation. Yep.
Yeah. I appreciate that perspective. And I think, you know, that leads really well into where I want to shift our conversation now, which is just a focus on student success. And one of the reasons, you know, that it's really important to be student-centric in your redesign methods is just for that focus on success and engagement. A lot of times equals success, and helping students to kind of focus and succeed in their own ways. So when we're thinking about this, what is the future of virtual and blended learning in the classroom? You talked a little bit about how, how students are spending part-time in the classroom, part-time alone, part-time asynchronous, part-time synchronous. So, but what is the future of blended and virtual learning? And, what's the direction that we're going to be going in the next, 5, 10, even 20 years? And Steve, if you want to take the first shot at it.
I'll take it first, and I'll answer that with an analogy of having a book versus having an electronic reader. Okay. When they first tried e-readers, Microsoft, everybody was after these things. They saw the world. You can carry 100 books around with you, but nobody was buying them. They wanted a book. You open it up, they're familiar with it. The book experience was what book reading was about. They had to adapt the technology and exploit the technology to make that e-reader a different kind of experience. You get the book, okay, but you can go to Wikipedia. There's so many things you can do in your e-reader. So I think the future of what this is going to look like is still kind of out there in the future. We know we're making this as book-like as possible as we move to platforms like class and other blended technologies and programs. But it's going to evolve, and it's going to be as effective and popular as an ebook when everybody gets involved in it and it moves along. It's the best I can say today.
Yeah, absolutely.
That gave me a second to thank Steve about my answer, so I appreciate it. I had my quick answer, and which was it is the way of the future. It's going to happen everywhere, but I actually want to tweak my answer a little bit and say, I actually think blended learning is what's going to stick for the future. And I actually would argue that even students maybe experiencing schooling fully remote at home through, like an ASU Prep Digital, still really need what the pedagogy of blended learning, which is that we all need learning to happen partly organized by our schooling system, right? Whether it's through Prep Digital or through one of our hybrid programs or we call them our fully immersive campuses or our brick and mortar campuses. But even every individual learner is going to need some combination of online and offline learning. Even for our learners who maybe are, in their home learning. So I think what it's going to be is schools are going to find more and more ways to build more choices for learners on like the combination of how much is done in a physical building or how much is done from home or some combination thereof. But even the best online schools, I think, really get it right. This combination of it being online and offline, which is kind of like what blended learning looks like in the classroom. How do we take the best of what technology can do to personalize instruction, but then also still bring in that really important human element that we know we all craved so much still when we were emergency schooling. So. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Those are two really insightful responses, and I think both spot on. And with that, so with that charge that we have now to create kind of a more personable, relatable environment, how do we adapt? Or maybe we have, or what tools or techniques do you currently use? What would you recommend that that schools and districts focus on as they move to paying attention to student engagement, paying attention to rigor, and not making a blended or virtual course just a replacement or the least best option?
I'd love to start just to share a little bit about another new model that we're dabbling in. We meant it in our mission that we build new models. So we are really excited about just thinking about rigor and how online learning can really take something like I'm imagining Steve's program in terms of like the excellence and honors and the type of student that you serve. Like, how can we really articulate that in an online experience? So ASU has just launched this year with Sal Khan of Khan Academy, a new school honors program called the Khan World School at ASU Prep. And there we are taking not only our experience in digital learning over the last, even well beyond and before the pandemic, but then also like, what else do kids want? What else do families want from an online space? And so our students will be doing a full competency-based model. So we're having them meet a certain threshold of mastery before they earn credit. They're participating in daily seminars around really rigorous, interesting, compelling topics. Should genes be edited using CRISPR? Really interesting, compelling questions. That they each day they have meaningful synchronous time exploring these rich concepts. And then they will be working in personalized learning through digital content at their own pace. But they also will be receiving small group tutorials with experts in the field, similar to the Oxford style tutorial model. Mm-hmm. So this is another iteration. It wasn't exact. We maybe did some of those things well, which is why Sal was interested in partnering with ASU. But we're really excited about dabbling in this space of competency or mastery-based learning online and how we can set up systems and kind of break down some things that are typically done in the space, as well as, this idea of building communities of learners online. We tell our students, if you just want to move at your own pace, if you just want to take university courses and graduate with honors and just kind of be in your own world and you have your own community and you're not really interested in this, that's not the model for you. But what we really want to build is a community of learners online who are both accountable for their own learning, but then also to this community. So we are super excited about the potential of leveraging technology for that. as we go forward, and we'll have to keep you aware of how it's going, because it's brand new. We just launched it, but we're really excited about it.
That's amazing. I think that that whole emphasis of being future focused and exactly, you know, the springboard that we needed to move into this next phase. That's so great. Steve, any thoughts from you on how we can continue to improve that student engagement and rigor?
Yeah, just a quick one. I have an engineering background, one of my several careers, and when we're engineering, engineers do two things. They solve problems, we all kind of know that, but they also create opportunities, because they look at something and go, you know, we could do over here. And that's, technology can solve some problems, some of the COVID problems we have, some of the other problems that are moving us toward online. But where I think administrators need to look, and what takes a little bit of work, is what is the opportunity? And it's the opportunity that really sells this thing. I'll give you an example. We have students who have to take an hour and 15-minute bus ride to get to our magnet school. And if you go to, and if you recognize that and you see an opportunity, hey, you can stay home 3 days a week. They're in, you know, they're in. Okay, and as long as there's rigor in the online opportunity, and they may even trade on. Well, I may not get to see Bob and Sam every day the way I used to, but I get to sleep in, you know, those days. Those opportunities, aren't obvious up front. The student, so these are, you know, the suburban students, the students in the overcrowded, under-resourced, call them inner city schools for lack of terms. Maybe they want to stay home, and you don't want your child necessarily having to deal with the stresses of some of the school systems that we have. You as an administrator, as someone moving change, you have to be creative about the opportunities technology can do, and then use that to overcome resistance, or, you know, make the difference. So you can solve problems, and there are many problems this solves, but these things also create opportunities we never thought of before. You know, I mean, my camera is in my phone. Who would have thought, right?
Who would have thought?
Like,
and I was just wondering if I could build off of something Steve just said, that idea of creating more opportunities for students, you know, using virtual platform or digital learning. And that really speaks to like the ASU charter of why ASU Prep Digital actually was founded in the first place. ASU sees itself as a global community, but in particular in Arizona, we have many students, just based on where they're at in the state, that, for instance, their high school just doesn't offer the courses, or doesn't have don't have enough numbers, or maybe the right talent, and depending on where these communities are at, for certified teachers in those particular areas. So ASU is really committed, actually, why digital was founded. It's fun to do all these fun design projects and these fun other things I'm telling you about, but actually why we exist is to make sure all students in Arizona have access to the course taking that's required for moving on to higher ed. We see ourselves as, why else do we exist at ASU if we can't be embedded in the communities, the greater community of Arizona, to make sure that all students have that opportunity? And I think that that digital learning can really help bring more opportunities to all kids, so that it's not just a special track, or not just these special design programs, which are amazing. And I love designing them and thinking about that too. But I think that's really important to think about, how technology can be a great equalizer across the state. And I know it's not perfect, but there's been a lot of headway made on access and issues around Wi-Fi and those sorts of issues over the last year. And I know Arizona has identified some communities still in need, and there's work to be done, but there has been a lot of acceleration, you know, with our partner schools around the state.
Yeah, that's so great. So if we take, you know, everything that we've talked about, how to increase engagement, how to increase rigor, and then just how to create an engaging situation for those schools and districts out there who are ready to take the plunge and design a more meaningful experience for students with students in mind based on student feedback. You know, when we think about where to begin, who should be at the table for that redesign conversation? And Betsy, we can start with you.
Sure. I'm going to 100% say teachers need to be at the table. And I believe a lot in that concept of lighthouse classrooms, finding early adopters in the community to really highlight, and even the research around teacher efficacy, if they can know that another teacher is doing it and finding success and working through different challenges or issues. Of course, I still love student voices, but I think for teachers to really get change moving, learning from each other and designing professional learning in-house or in collaboration, with the kind of train the trainer models, the more you can bring out the amazing assets of teachers as entrepreneurs, teachers as innovators. I think that's where I've seen the best success, is building those places for other teachers to go visit and to learn from one another. So find a few eager teachers, find the Steves of the school to show others how it's done.
Absolutely. And Steve, as you're going through this process, anyone else, any other personas or voices that you feel have been helpful at the table?
In our case, the graduating students, because they're high school, but any students who have been through it, talk to them personally, and not by surveys, but talk to them personally. What did you like? What you didn't like? What else could be done? What was your experience with it? They are the focus of all of this and everything today, and they just need to be in on things, and that's where you really learn. I've like Betsy said earlier, having something wonderful on paper, and boy, I'm a great innovative teacher. Here I go, and it just flops, falls dead. I've never had that extreme, but it doesn't work. Okay, and if I would have talked to some students ahead and experiment a little bit, got some feedback, I would have gone, I see. So teachers, absolutely, they're going to do all the heavy lifting to move this thing up to another level, but you really need the students in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to build on that, a lot of technologies have emerged over the past couple of years. Obviously, class is one of them. New technologies in software and hardware, and how can we leverage both of those things to really catapult this blended and virtual learning forward?
I guess my mind immediately goes to data, but not. I'm obsessed with a great teacher dashboard that really can help me work smarter at my job, be smarter so I don't have to work as hard. I want to know who should I be grouping for different skill lessons or mini lessons, but that's all fine. But I actually am really more excited about technology that's putting data at the hands of students to have more control and agency over knowing where they're at in their learning and being able to bring learning from grade level to grade level to be able to see and know kind of where they're at in their educational career. So I'm really excited about anything that's putting data in the hands of students. And on the side, I'm always a sucker for a great teacher dashboard too.
Love it. Steve, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've learned, and I think the research shows that the things that motivate students are being in on things, having some choices, some say in where this is going, and having some data, having some look at the future, through Canvas or something. They can participate, and boy, does that motivate. The second thing is recognition. The individuality of the technology has to be there. Somebody knows what I'm doing. Somebody knows I'm here. Somebody knows that I can't come in this morning, and they made it an adjustment in the system for me. Hugely motivating. And the third one is reward. That somebody recognizes that they've done something well, and it stands out. those three things they're far more motivating than grades or anything else. But that in on things opportunity where they can see what's going on, they can pick and choose, they know where they're headed, they're a part of this. It's huge. I think that's real important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, so as we wrap up the conversation and others begin to take on this project of redesign and with the student, focus, what challenges do you think they should watch out for? What opportunities are there? Do you have a couple of pieces of advice for them? And Steve, we can start with you.
Yeah, for the administrators, as soon as possible, bring in the parents and bring in the students. They're on a committee, the design committee, or they have their own committee and work with the design changers. That's key, and you're going to have to educate them, communicate with them, let them know not only here's what we're trying to solve here, but here are the opportunities. They have to be brought in and helped to understand. They're going to come in with their biases and precognitions. They're going to want to go back to the book. What's this Kindle thing you're telling me about? And it takes patience and education and strong communication, and earlier the better. I'll say that. That's a real challenge. Everybody's pulled in a lot of directions. They don't necessarily know what the technology is, and if they don't, they're going to just want to keep as much the same as they can. It's human nature. So it's early, and a lot of communication is critical. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And Betsy, any thoughts and final parting words or pieces of advice or challenges that may be encountered, both probably from your experience, as at ASU Digital Prep and as a teacher facilitator?
So I echo everything that Steve says. I agree with all of that. And I think I hit on this maybe in one of the opening questions about when you're in that reimagine stage, it can be really hard just if we all are coming to the design table, so to say, with our own experiences of school. And so one of my biggest pieces of advice, and it would be great to bring students and parents along on this too, if possible, is to visit schools that are doing innovative work as you're looking at designing something for your own school communities. That has been the most valuable experience I've had. And I'm currently working on my doctorate. So I've had a lot of great traditional pedagogy. Great. I love it. It's been awesome. But when I go visit a school, it feels like there's just something really real, and getting to talk to people about their own challenges with change has been incredibly valuable. If you can't physically go, by the way, you're all welcome to come visit ASU schools. I would love to host you. So anybody listening on the webinar, we'd love to host you and show you some of these different models. But when if I can't physically go, there's some really great resources online, actually, even to do some virtual site tours. So there's a great article from Getting Smart, 100 schools to visit. And I really enjoy looking at that when I'm doing any sort of new design work, to just see what's out there. And I think that can be really helpful for parents, students, teachers, as you're trying to create buy-in around a new design, to see what other schools are doing. And if they can do it, we can also figure it out too. So thanks so much.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, Betsy and Steve, oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a great conversation, and both of you are doing a lot of just really innovative work, and we appreciate you sharing your perspectives. And thanks to everyone who has joined us today. As a reminder, we will send out the recording of this webinar, and you can learn more at class.com. So have a great day.